Hello, welcome to Provoking Safety. My name is Kevin Barrett. I'm a health and safety professional, and this is my channel. I've always had the desire to make health and safety simpler, easier to understand, in fact, just more doable all around. So I started this channel. It's the channel where we think safety, talk safety, do safety, with the intention of provoking it at home and in the workplace. This is another segment in the series of 7 Minutes of Safety. This segment is going to be on the right to refuse unsafe or dangerous work, as it's sometimes called. I did another video in this segment on the basic rights of workers, but it was from the employer's point of view. Now I want to take this a step further and look at it from the worker point of view. I'm going to start with this segment first because I feel it's most important. The reason I do is the evidence is, I guess, somewhat clear to me anyway, is there's too much in the news regarding workers being severely injured on the job or fines for employers not providing a safe environment for work, or even worse, fatalities on the job site. So I thought I'd bring this to a worker perspective and maybe provide them the information they need so that they can refuse unsafe or dangerous work. First off, a couple of caveats before we get into it and start the timer. First one is that I'm not going to get into the COVID-19 thing, okay? That's an onion with way too many layers, and I'm not going to kick over that hornet's nest. Well, just not at this time anyway. The next thing is I'm not going to go too much into a unionized environment, more intending for all workers. So I'm not going to be specific to union environments. However, the principles are pretty much the same. Let's put 7 minutes on the clock. Let's do it right now. Now, the first thing that we want to do is define what unsafe work is, or dangerous work is, and of course the purpose behind the law of the right to refuse unsafe work. There's a few definitions out there. I brought some notes just so I can be absolutely precise with it. The first one I chose came from the CLC Part 2, which is the Canada Labour Code Part 2, which looks after health and safety. And that's the right to refuse dangerous work. Now, this is an overview. It's not ad verbatim of the law, but it's an overview. Any employee subject to Part 2 of the Code has the right to refuse dangerous work as long as they have reasonable cause to believe that it presents a danger. Specifically, the Code states that an employee may refuse in the following circumstances. They may refuse to operate a machine that constitutes a danger to the employee or to another employee. To work in a place. I'm assuming that that place is unsafe. To perform an activity that constitutes a danger to the employee or to another employee. Now, the code goes on a little bit further to state that if the work that they're called to do, albeit dangerous, if the work isn't completed and it will present a danger to others, there's some exceptions. Once again, if you're a federal employee, I'll leave a link down below and I suggest you follow up on it and have a look. With Saskatchewan, I've chose them as an example because, one, I've left them out in quite a few videos, and I'm sorry, Saskatchewan. But number two is they have a really good overview of the law. And that's, you have the right to refuse to do any specific job or task which you have reasonable grounds to believe is unusually dangerous. Now, the key word is reasonable grounds. The danger may be to you or another person. An unusual danger could include a danger that is not normal for the job. And the example I give here is repairing a roof in dangerous winds. A danger that would normally stop work, and the example I give is a flat tire on a forklift, because that would usually stop you. And a situation for which you're not properly trained, equipped, or experienced to do the work assigned. That's like cleaning windows in a tall building with no fall protection equipment or training. So let's move on and have a look further at a few more things regarding the law and how you should apply it. If you're hit with an unsafe situation at work, don't keep working, stop the work. That's step number one, stop the work. Once you've stopped the work, the next step starts with the supervisor. However, your workplace may have certain steps in place for refusing unsafe work. I suggest, if they do, that you familiarize yourself with them. The basic step, though, is to talk to your supervisor. Now, in talking with your supervisor, you may be angry that you're working in an unsafe environment. Take a deep breath. Nothing is solved with hot tempers. Present your concern reasonably, why you have reason to believe it's unsafe, and in fact, if you can, go further and make a suggestion that would make it safe. Now, the key word here is where you have reasonable suspicion or a reasonable concern that your situation is unsafe. Keep in mind, once the work is stopped, the supervisor can assign you to other work to keep you from the unsafe environment. We'll get onto that in a little bit. Once you've advised the supervisor, they will investigate, usually with you present and another worker who's familiar with the work taking place. Ideally, this person will be your worker health and safety representative from the Occupational Health and Safety Committee, or the health and safety worker representative if you don't have a health and safety committee. Now, the supervisor will usually respond to you verbally, and they may even be able to just fix and correct the situation right on the scene. Most jurisdictions require a follow-up in writing, so there's a written record to demonstrate the due diligence, but don't necessarily wait around for the email. If it's corrected, just get back to work. However, if you're not satisfied, the supervisor once again can assign you to other work. Keep in mind, most jurisdictions won't permit a worker who's refusing unsafe work to be denied a wage or work at a reduced wage for completing the other work while an investigation is taking place. In most cases, you should be safe from any kind of punitive action. Once again, if the supervisor is investigated and you don't feel satisfied by the investigation, you don't feel the resolution is adequate, you do have an additional step before going to your Occupational Health and Safety Authority. That next step is seeing your Joint Occupational Health and Safety Committee or the Worker Health and Safety Representative and asking them to investigate independently. They will include the supervisor in their investigation in most cases just to find out the supervisor's point of view as well. The request to the Health and Safety Committee should be made verbally but also in writing, and it's totally dependent on your workplace process. The Health and Safety Committee just might require a verbal report. However, once again, follow the written process in your workplace if there is one. Once they investigate, usually they will provide their findings both verbally and in writing. If the situation is deemed safe and you can return to work, they'll just let you know you have to go back to work. Once the Health and Safety Committee is done investigating, they'll usually have two courses of action. Number one is they found it safe and they'll tell you to go back to work. Number two is, if the situation is unsafe, they'll make written recommendations to the employer to make it safe. In either case, if you're not satisfied, you do have an additional recourse. That recourse is going to your OHS authority. Now, I'm going to leave some links for refusing unsafe work down below, or refusing dangerous works down below. Also, I'm going to leave the contact information for the OHS authorities in Canada, and you can use that information to contact OHS authorities if you need. Once you've gone to this extent, keep in mind, most occupational health and safety authorities in the various jurisdictions will allow for an anonymous complaint. Depending on your work site and workplace size, it may be pretty easy to figure out who made the complaint. So just let you understand that. There is whistleblower protection in place, and it should be present, or the information should be easily found within the links that I'm leaving below. Once the OHS authority it receives your complaint, there's going to be some internal steps that they have, and I won't get into it, but some of the things that you will see happen is they will come to the work site. They may do follow-up interviews with you. They will more than likely interview other workers and your supervisor or other people within the organization. OHS authorities have the power to seize documents, written records, electronic documents, etc. So they may ask for additional information. They don't necessarily start to seize right away. They do ask for additional information. They may maintain the stop work process while the investigation is taking place. They may find that it's safe and acknowledge that both verbally and in writing, and let you know as well the results of their investigation. If it's unsafe, they may ask for additional things to take place, or they may provide written orders for additional things to take place, such as environmental testing, sampling, etc. They may write orders on the steps needed to make the situation safe and continue the stop work until the situation is made safe. Once the process is complete, you do have, in some jurisdictions, the opportunity to appeal that decision, but it really doesn't usually go that far. In most cases, once the Occupational Health and Safety Authority is involved, usually resolution does take place. Once again, the follow-up will be both to you verbally and in writing, and to the organization as well. In closing, this is the TBDW, too busy, didn't have time to watch. Exercising your rights as a worker in Canada is an entitlement. It should not be abused. So if you're refusing what you consider as dangerous work, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, not just to get out of performing a task or not as retribution to your employer. Start with your supervisor. Be civil. State why you think it's unsafe. If you don't feel that you've gained resolution at the supervisor level, you can go to your Occupational Health and Safety Committee or your Worker Health and Safety representative and ask for an investigation. You do have another alternative, and that's to report to the OHS authority. Once you've exhausted your previous steps, which they'll also ask you if you've done, once again, don't feel that you have to work in an unsafe environment. I've left additional information below. Please use it. Thanks for watching. Once again, my name's Kevin. This is Provoking Safety. If you like the content, please do me a favor, let me know. Click the like button. If you didn't, by all means, you have the right to click that unlike button, but let me know why. Please leave a comment below. If you're new to the channel and safety's your thing, well, do me a favor, subscribe. Ding that bell, you'll get notified of new content. Until we see each other again, do me a favor, think safety, talk safety, do safety with the intention of provoking it at home and in the workplace. Thanks for watching, take care, bye for now.